Authenticity is not the same thing as transparency. So in a lot of meetings, I've heard clients describe, we ask, how do you feel about your organization? What represents you? And they're like, well, we're energetic, and we care about people, and we're really transparent. And transparency is not often the best. I use this example. So I don't know if anyone's seen this picture, but it's a toilet that's in the middle of the street. So from the outside is on the left. So it's just glass mirrored, you can't see anything. And then from the inside, you can see everything on the outside, right? So you want it to be a real toilet when you go in there, right? Because you've got an emergency, you've got things to handle. But you don't want it to be transparent. So we think back to the metaphor about relationships and on a date. You go on a date, you want to find out who the person really is, but you don't want somebody who's going to overshare, if you know what I mean. Right? So there's this balance between transparency and authenticity, and they are not necessarily the same thing. And that normally gives clients a little ease, but it should give us ease as well as we're designing for them, that we don't have to create a vehicle for them to put out everything, every nook and cranny. So I've created this list of do's and don'ts. So don't spin, don't lie, don't ignore, and don't be desperate. And it is ironic how often, if you just use those 4 measures and looking and evaluating how well a site completes its purpose and represents a brand, that they miss on one of those 4, right? So the spinning and the lying relates to what we talked about, being authentic, making a promise that you can't deliver on. So this is the greatest version of our software that we've ever put out. I work for a software company, and I've seen that happen with previous versions. Our current version's great, in case anyone's listening. Great. But current versions, I've seen that happen, right? The ignore. So ignoring the user and treating them like they're just there to consume what you have. So users consume our content, but their purpose is not to consume our content. Everything that we create, our experiences are there to serve the consumer, serve the user in some way. Right? So the first-time user, you have to be giving them something because you want to hook them in. You want to make them feel like they're special, give them that VIP experience, and that's really important. So in the do's, you want to do be honest, do be grounded, do be purposeful, and do be self-aware. Do. So do be purposeful is, I think, the most important one there. And when we talk about do be purposeful, a lot of times it's a difficult one to communicate, and it's great actually that the content session went before this one, but often it comes across in the content that we let get structured into the site, for lack of a better phrase. But as part of the curators of an experience and the builders of experience, we need to push back and say that this content does not serve a purpose. I understand the same way we would a feature set. So, you want to put everything on the homepage, we're going to say that doesn't really make sense. What's the same thing with content? The way you've structured your content doesn't necessarily work. We're working on a redesign for a large international service organization, and one of the things they do is they do like member spotlights, and they do it Q&A style, right? So you look at it and it just looks like an FAQ about a person, which is really boring and doesn't serve a purpose, right? So if their purpose is to connect to users and get them to see a story, to be able to envision themselves within the process. So that's one of the goals that we set out in this redesign. And it's really important for us to say, how do we repurpose the same content or restructure it in a way within this experience that serves our ultimate purpose of allowing someone else to envision themselves in the process? That makes sense, right? So really affecting those things.